Welcome friends, Kalina and Tapas here from Eat, Read, Sleep, and this is our short book review segment. We read books and provide quotes, key points, and takeaways. If you haven't read the book, this will be a good starting point, and if you have read the book, this will be a nice refresher for you. Today's book is The Four Agreements, A Practical Guide to Personal Freedom, written by Miguel Ruiz. The intention of this book is the teaching of the esoteric Toltec knowledge, a simple way of life, more so versus being a religion. Although the concept of God is mentioned in the book, this book actually appeals to the general spirituality that can be applied to everyone. Now, the purpose of this book is to make the 4 agreements with yourself in order to increase your own personal happiness, attain self-development, and personal freedom. The 4 agreements is broken down into 6 parts. The first part is the domestication of the dream and the planet. A quote from this section is, "The human is the only animal on earth that pays 1,000 times for the same mistake." End quote. Domestication is that our beliefs are conditioned and manipulated even before we are born into this earth. The act of domestication happens through how our parents raise us, how society wants us to conform, and even how the government controls us. And the dream of the planet, now that is the realization that each of our unique upbringings and experiences create a view that only we can relate to. No other person in this world can actually see, feel, or understand what you do. Thus, we are each walking around in our own dreams. You are actually dreaming right now. And unfortunately, the act of domestication leads us to have our own images of what perfection should look like. As a result, we're trained to punish ourselves whenever we do something wrong as a means to reinforce our mistakes. This is true for all animals of this world. However, humans take it one step further and punish ourselves over and over and over again for that very same mistake. This causes suffering and decreases our happiness. Remember that we all live different dreams. What you see, what I see, we're never going to be aligned and see the same thing. You don't need to try and win the love and acceptance of other people. Only yourself. The more love, the more self-love you have, the less you will self-abuse. Change that image of perfection in your mind to do something more achievable, more reasonable, more healthy, and be in more love with yourself.
So the first agreement of the book, be impeccable with your word. This is the most important and the most difficult agreement to honor. Quote from the book, "The word is a force. It is a power you have to express and communicate, to think, and thereby to create the events in your life. Humans are the only animals that can speak words. And our words are like magic. You can use your words for good, like white magic, or you can use your words for bad, like black magic. This also applies to how you think, and more specifically, how you think about yourself. In practice, allow your mind to only accept seeds of love and self-care, forgive and forget, express only positivity for and of others, use the power of words in a direction of truth and love for yourself, and finally, don't use your words with the intention of harming anyone."
So the second agreement is, don't take anything personally. Quote, "You take it personally because you agree with what someone has said." Another great quote is, "When you make it a strong habit not to take anything personally, you avoid many upsets in your life. Your anger, jealousy, and envy will all disappear. And even your sadness will simply disappear if you don't take things personally." When you take the negative things others say about you personally, you get trapped in your own personal importance because you're operating under this selfish assumption that everything's about you. You start to get depressed, you start to get unhappy because you start to believe all of those negative things about yourself. So therefore, once you stop taking things personally, you will be much happier. Alternatively, also don't take praises or compliments personally either. You just need to know that you are wonderful without needing confirmation from others. Some things that you can do to apply this agreement. First of all, be humble. Secondly, realize that nothing other people do or say is actually because of you. It's because of them. And lastly, understand that you are the only person who knows who you are. The third agreement, don't make assumptions. Quote, All the sadness and drama you have lived in your life was rooted in making assumptions and taking things personally. Another quote, "It's always better to ask questions than to make an assumption because assumptions set us up for suffering." It's a human tendency to make assumptions about everything. It's natural for us to do that. This usually arises from a fear to ask questions, a fear to ask for clarification, and this ends up trying to prove something to someone else even when we are the ones with misinformation. So to truly move on with your life and experience emotional freedom and happiness, we just have to let go of that blame. What we can do and practice every day is try to think objectively and do so without assumptions, and also be curious, seek clarifications, ask a lot of questions before even thinking or making any assumptions.
All right, guys, for the fourth agreement, simply put, always do your best. Quote from the book, "When you do your best, you learn to accept yourself." Doing your best may look different day to day. You may have ups and downs in life, things will be thrown at you a lot of different ways, but just keep in mind you have to try your best. If you truly commit yourself to doing your best, you will have no reason to judge yourself, and more importantly, you'll eliminate the feelings of guilt and blame for your life. And to put into practice, give your 100% of the time, and be genuine with your actions and do not expect anything in return.
So those are the 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. Now, if you combine all of this, these are the Toltec paths to freedom. And in order to do that, you have to also break old agreements. A quote from this last section of the book is, "The freedom we're looking for is the freedom to be ourselves, to express ourselves." We're born and instilled with agreements and beliefs that we actually need to unlearn and let go of. This is difficult to do and will take a lot of time. Replace suffering thoughts with the Toltec 4 agreements to achieve emotional and personal freedom. What we can do and practice is be aware. Just be aware of yourself and what you really want. Be mindful of what's going on and what others are seeing, feeling, hearing. Make small positive changes and do not limit yourself to the possibilities of what you can be and what you can achieve.
And finally, a quote to put it all together. Do not be concerned with the future. Keep your attention on today and stay in the present moment. Just live one day at a time. Always do your best to keep these agreements, and soon it will be easy for you. Today is the beginning of a new dream. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today on a quick book review of the 4 agreements. Stay tuned for our deep dive conversation coming up very soon, where we go into our personal takeaways of the book, and we'll see you there. Bye, guys.